One is obviously a afternoon at the Colosseum for an actual gladiator event.
That counts
in ancient Rome. So that's
that absolutely counts. I agree. I think it's great. You can see people slaughter each other.
Barbaric thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't come back the same, but.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. This is a midweek episode, and it's back to a fan favorite format. This episode is a no notes episode. If you are new here, what we did last time, because it's only the second time we've been doing this structure, but it was a lot of fun. People loved it last time, so we're bringing it back by popular demand, I should say.
Right.
Connor and I have 3 football topics, and then one added fun topic that we will do at the end of the show that we will literally hold up on a note card, and with no notes, the other person will have to read it out loud and respond to it. So we're kind of going off the top of the dome here with these different questions, but they're fun, topical questions. It opens things up for us to be able to kind of talk about what we want to talk about. It's a free-flowing show, and last time it was a lot of fun, Connor. So I'm looking forward to this one, man. The people demanded it, and we got to give the people what they want.
We always do. And honestly, this is quickly becoming one of my favorite things that we do. I have so much fun sitting down and prepping for this show, writing out questions and scenarios and, tossing some away for some that are better. I have so much fun with this because, like you said, Trevor, it's really the one time where we're totally away from the standard rankings, mock drafts, stock watch. This is the latest on this specific team. It's really a choose your own adventure. So, and there's a lot of laughs in this. So hopefully everybody likes it as much as you and I do.
Yes, no, it'll be a good time. It always is. And for everybody who's listening on audio only, we are holding up the note cards with the questions, but then the other person will read it out loud, just like last time. So you guys that are audio only don't feel left out here. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start? Which one? Okay. All right. So you're gonna hold it up first?
Yeah, I got a fun one to kick us off.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So my preface of this before I hold it up is that you are a team and you are coming away with one of these duos in the draft. So
okay. All right.
Can you see this?
I can. Can you hold it up a little bit higher? Because I can't see the fourth one. All right, there we go. Pick a duo. Laiatu Latu and Trey Benson, Jared Verse and Donovan Edwards, Dallas Turner and Blake Corum, or Chop Robinson and Braylon Allen.
The old pass rush running back duo.
Okay, yeah, this is a pass rush running back connection. So it's Latu and Benson, and then it's Verse and Edwards.
Right.
Turner and Corum, and then the last one was Chop Robinson and Braylon Allen.
And I wisely went through your rankings to make sure that I didn't stack 2 of your favorites together.
So I think right off the bat, and you guys are going to listen to me think about this out loud. So you're going to get a peer into my brain as you often do in this.
That's part of the fun of this.
I think right off the bat, it's Latu and Benson, because Latu is somebody who I have elevated to edge one status in this draft. I think that the way he deconstructs blocks, the hand usage, the size at 6'5", 265 pounds. I mean, it is all there for him. You look at some of the other guys in that list, and I think it would be fair to say that all 3 of the other pass rushers, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, and Chop Robinson, probably have a little bit better of a first step, a more explosive first step.
I think that's fair.
But the way I wrote it actually this week in an article for PFF is Latu's like a smooth criminal, man. Even though he's not this bat out of hell kind of player with his first step, he just destroys you with how he plays the edge position. So that's why he's edge 1 for me. And Benson, I took him out of the RB1 spot because to me, even though the offensive line wasn't playing as well at Florida State to start the year, and I think that is a reason why the production was down, it didn't feel like he was creating nearly as much as he did last year, which is crazy because we mentioned in summer scouting, he had a forced missed tackle rate of 0.5, which is higher than any Bijan Robinson year, the Javonte Williams year that was nuts, the Travis Etienne year, which was crazy. Like, that's higher than all of those guys. So the fact that you are forcing that many missed tackles on your own individually and then having a high yards after contact average, those are very translatable things to the pros. But all of those things were down this year. And so it's kind of spooked me a little bit about Benson. I don't want to think he's a one-year wonder. I think I moved Benson behind Corum and Edwards. Did I have him behind Edwards?
Yeah, you had him behind both of them.
I'd say that I'd probably change it to Benson being ahead of Edwards, but still behind Corum for as good as Corum is. And then Braylon Allen, I like a lot.
Me too. I love Braylon Allen.
I think that one might be the most tempting.
That was the one. I think that's the one that has the most upside, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Chop can be, and he's far away from it now, but he's got all pro potential. And how many times have we seen, these big bodied backs that turn it on as pass catchers where they're adequate enough as a pass catcher and they get to the NFL level and they're just different. And that's, kind of the way I view Allen a little bit. That one's intriguing. So is Verse and Edwards. Because Edwards is an explosive athlete, and
Edwards' ceiling is super high, man.
Right.
He's been pretty feast or famine this year, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, Michigan's run game just cannot get it going against. And I think everybody's kind of sweeping it under the rug with these two guys being low productivity, both him and Blake Corum, and they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter, they're winning football.
Right.
It's like you're playing your bad opponents now. Like you should be running the ball very well now. I wouldn't sweep this under the rug too much, especially if Michigan ends up getting to the college football playoff, which is completely up in the air now because of all the sign stealing stuff. Dude, have you seen the latest of this?
Yes, the pictures on the side.
How the guy might have been on the sideline for Central Michigan?
Now we're talking about like some like spy level stuff.
I kind of respect it.
I
feel like I have no choice but to respect it.
Same. When you go in this far,
yes.
Like it's one thing to be like the whole, well, we're not really cheating, right? This is full blown spy level shit. Like this is like there was no holding back. This is, if you're gonna go over the line,
it's like
jump with 2 feet.
Stuff.
It really is. Although, if that's him, by the way, that disguise is so ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Do you think he just like walked to the campus bookstore beforehand and just like got a Chippewas hat?
It kind of feels that way. I mean, this is actually a funny topic for us because you've been on the sideline for a ton of college football games, and back when I worked at Bleacher Report, same with me. And I'll say this, like college sidelines, depending where you are, not everywhere, compared to NFL sidelines, I was always blown away when I was credentialed. Not everywhere. Some places were actually insanely strict. But there was a couple of times where I was like, man, I have the lay of the land. Like I can go out there and start catching balls during warmups. I felt like sometimes where you could go. So I'm not really floored by this if the investigation proves that some of it's true.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people on the sidelines, especially for college games. So yes. I feel like you can get away with it a little bit easier than you would in an NFL game. But yeah, it's wild. Anyways, getting back to the question, Braylon Allen, I actually looked this up. I can't remember if it was this week or last week. His numbers are pretty dang good. And over the last 2 years, he's had over 1,200 rushing yards in each his true freshman and his true sophomore season. So the rushing production was always there for him, but the individual difference-making production, like last year, he had a 0.22 forced missed tackles per attempt average, which is not great. I mean, it's fine, but it's not great. And the yards after contact for Braylon Allen, who is 6'2", 245 pounds. I mean, he's a big dude. It was only at 3.0 last year. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, 1,200 rushing yards, but what's he doing when the offensive line isn't playing well? This year, it is different. This year, he's at 0.33 missed tackles forced per attempt, which is a pretty good number. That's significantly higher. And then the yards after contact this season is at 4.0, so it's a full yard higher. So that I like a lot. So I think Allen's trending in the right direction. Ultimately, I'm still going Latu and Benson. Like, those are my two dudes. I had Benson RB1 going into the season. Then you did as well.
Yep.
And even if though he,
I had just behind Travion at the time. That's it.
Oh yeah, right. You had Travion up there. But Latu is so good. Benson, I think, is still going to be a really good back in the pros. That's my one. And then number two would be that potential of Chop Robinson and Braylon Allen. So that would be the order of operations, but I'm going Latu and Benson. Who would you go with? Before we go to mine, who would you go with?
Man, I think I would go with the same as you. I mean, just going by my ranks right now, like Latu's my edge one right now. I've made that move. And then I still like Benson. I mean, I still have Benson undoubtedly as a top 5 back in this class, but probably a top 3 back. I am really intrigued by Chop and Braylon Allen. That's the one where I was like, man, I could see myself in 3 years being like, that was the one. Yeah. But just by my ranks, it's Latu and Benson.
Let me look up, because Chop's been playing a lot better lately, I think. So he started the year
a little slow.
Pretty slow. Yeah, his pass rush grade's all the way up to 83.5. He must have been, I feel like he's been going off then.
At least I feel like I made good duos considering you had to walk through it. There wasn't one where you're like, yep, that's the one.
Yeah. Right. No. That was a good question. But I'm going Latu and Benson. Very curious for what the people in the chat.
Right. I feel like there'll be very mixed opinions. I know a ton of people understandably love Dallas Turner. I mean, we still really like Jared Verse a lot. Like this, and Donovan Edwards, you brought up the ceiling with him. It's an interesting one.
All right. You ready for your first one?
Let's do it. I get nervous.
Hopefully hopefully I'm not like mirrored here. So
what if I panic?
So you can actually read it. I hope you do panic.
Favorite initial head coach candidate for the Raiders. This is a perfect one to start with because this is the news of the week is the Raiders in the middle of the night while we were in our deep sleep, blowing this thing up. Yeah. They just... I don't know, something pissed off Mark Davis.
I woke up to LOL Raiders and I was like, oh, what, did they bench Jimmy? And then I checked Twitter and I was like, they did what? They fired both of them?
And they eventually benched Jimmy.
They did bench Jimmy.
They did get there. It just took about 5 steps first to do that.
They just buried that part. So, yeah, I'm curious, man. Like you said, this is the big news of the week. And obviously, we got a lot of time here, right? They've got over half a season to decide which direction they want to go in, but very clearly getting a big time head start on evaluating who they would like. And so I'm curious which direction you think this team would go in and a head coach that you would like for them.
So I'm really torn on this for a lot of reasons. Number one, the fact that this job could be tough to sell. I'm not saying it will be. I'm saying there's a chance it could be tough to sell. Like we could enter a year where the easiest sell if you have an opening this year is going to be if you can get Caleb Williams or Drake May. That's just me being like totally honest. Like if you are in one of those draft slots to get one of those guys, I would think you can sell this job to the Ben Johnsons of the world. Another guy I really like is Brian Callahan, the Bengals offensive coordinator. Okay. If I'm looking to go with and I would think the Raiders are thinking this because the reality is they're in a division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. And right away, and here's the thing: what if the Broncos are in position to get Drake May or whoever it may be? Then you're looking around, you're like, oh boy. So I would think ownership is looking at this and going, we need to get a offensive developer that is going to develop the quarterback we're drafting. And it feels like in hindsight, McDaniel should have done this last year. Like they should have.
It's what they hired him to be. Yeah.
Right. They should have traded up from that pick and got one of the quarterbacks. Or even if they were the team to trade back up on day 2 to take Levis, something that gave you a plan where you're looking at it and going, we got Jimmy. Jimmy's a bridge guy. It's always eventually going to be this guy. And you can't do that with Aiden O'Connell. That's not fair to Aiden O'Connell. That's not realistic.
Right.
So anyways, they're gone now. It is what it is. Then there's the other part of me, Trevor. Like, while everyone in the division seems to be kind of going one way, offense, right? Mm-hmm. Mahomes, Herbert. Say what you want about the Broncos. Sean Payton was given $20 million a year or whatever it was to build a great offense to compete with those teams. And they might be able to do that when they get a quarterback. Do you go the other way, thinking this job's not going to be attractive to the young play callers in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we are going to be more of a sandpaper team, as I like to say. We're going to win ugly. We're going to get our quarterback, but we are going to build this different than we have. And once again, it's so hard because I don't know what the appeal level will be. But do you go call Dan Quinn and say, we're going to be a little bit more brash. We're going to be tougher. We're going to run the ball and play defense, because that's, while everybody's going one way in this division, we have to go the other way because we don't think we can find the Mahomes, the Herbert. We don't think we can do that. Honestly, I would respect that internal scouting appeal. Mm-hmm. So if they go through this process, and you brought it up, it's good that they're starting it now, and they get the feedback from these coaching agents and a lot of these places that, hey, like, you guys aren't going to be an attractive destination for one of the hot shot play callers in the league, then you got to do something different. And Dan Quinn's been very picky as well, so maybe that wasn't the best example, but a coach like that you are building it differently.
Look, well, okay, so do you have a favorite? Do you have a one that you like?
I'll say Brian Callahan would, if you can get him.
Okay.
I would say, because I'm not putting Ben Johnson in this conversation, and I don't want to make every answer to the coaching questions this offseason Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
I would say Brian Callahan, but I'll put Dan Quinn as a hard number 2.
Yeah, this is, I've just been talking to people, and this is just, from an opinion. Ben Johnson might not be the guy who really wants to be a head coach, right? I mean, think of the opportunities that he had last offseason, and he was Carolina specifically, where I could have been the head coach of that team. And he goes back to Detroit, and I think all of us are like, wow, what a great job, getting him back. It's crazy for Detroit. And maybe this is just people within the league circle that I've talked to kind of asking questions about it, but maybe he doesn't want to be a head coach as much as we want him to be a head coach, at least not at this time. I just wonder if everybody's penciling him in for the next head coach job, and maybe he does get it. Maybe that does come to fruition, but it might not be as much of a guarantee as what people are thinking. My number 1 is Dan Quinn.
Nice.
Easily. It's easily Dan Quinn. Vic Tafur, who covers the Raiders team for The Athletic, wrote an article about just the things that went wrong behind the scenes with McDaniels and Ziegler. And it was very clear that these guys did not have a direction. And Mark Davis was losing faith. But to me, more importantly, something that was mentioned in the article, the players were losing faith. There's nobody on that roster really who continued to wholeheartedly believe in the front office or in the coaching staff because of what has happened over the last year and a half. And to me, the most important thing for the Raiders moving forward is to get a guy who can truly establish a winning culture. Dan Quinn did that in Atlanta. And even after Kyle Shanahan left, and even after things started to go south because they could not figure it out on offense, and they just had these roller coaster of seasons over his last 2 years there, that team still fought for Dan Quinn every single year. They started off, goodness, what was it, 2-6? I feel like one of those years. Yeah. They started off so poorly, I think, I don't remember if it was exactly the last 2 or the last 2 out of 3. They started off so poorly, and they had basically all the excuses to just let it go off the rails, and the team was going to lose faith in Dan Quinn, and they never did. To me, that always spoke volumes of what he is as a head coach and as a player's coach specifically. So to me, that's what's most important for the Raiders moving forward. I think that if Dan Quinn wants that job, to me, he's candidate number 1. And for the people out there who are going to be like, man, he couldn't figure it out on offense. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with the Packers this year. The Packers end up with a top 5 pick. Maybe they fire Matt LaFleur. I think Matt LaFleur could get another head coach job in the NFL immediately. But if he doesn't, he was the quarterback's coach in Atlanta under Shanahan when Dan Quinn was there for his first 2 seasons. And also, Brandon Staley gets fired with the Chargers if they have a disappointing year. Kellen Moore becomes available. They were both the coordinators in Dallas, so they have a relationship there. Maybe you get Kellen Moore to be your offensive coordinator. So I think that there's some options there if Dan Quinn ends up being the head coach. But Connor, to me, that's those are the reasons why Quinn is my number one for the Raiders.
I like it, obviously. I just think that they need somebody that really instills some belief in this franchise and gets this franchise back to having some pride and an identity and a DNA. And it feels like they've been so far away from that. It really, really does. And I mean, that's every time a team experiments with just trying to build off of New England, people, this is what happens all the time. So it didn't work out for the Raiders. Hopefully they can get it right. And I'm with you, Trevor. I'm absolutely with you. I don't think they should go to the college ranks. I don't think I'm not even entertaining the idea of Harbaugh. Although I'm not saying I'd be surprised. I'm just saying for us, I'm not going down that path either. So,
yeah, I wondered if Harbaugh would be in the list here, but we're gonna dive deep into the Raiders situation when we fix the franchise and the Fix Your Franchise episode. So we'll give you some more head coach candidates. But I wanted to ask the question here to see what Connor's initial thoughts were. All right, what do we got next?
Okay, next one up.
Pick any rule or process change for the NFL.
So process change can be like if you think pass interference can be reviewed with 2 minutes left, like something like that. Because that's not technically changing the rule, but it's changing the process of the evaluation of the rule. Or you could just change a rule that you absolutely hate.
I'm trying to think if there's one. I do not hate the fumble the ball into the end zone and the other team gets it. I don't hate that nearly as much as Twitter does.
That's everybody's like ultimate freak out.
I know I think it's just easy likes. It's just easy retweets when they say worst rule in sports, because in reality,
definitely not the worst rule in sports.
It's not the worst rule in sports. And I go back to the Tampa Bay Atlanta Falcons game where Desmond Ridder was about to walk into the end zone for a touchdown. Antoine Winfield Jr. hustled the hell out of the ball and then punched it out from Desmond Ridder as he is crossing the goal line. That ball goes out of bounds, and it is Tampa Bay's ball. It deserves to be Tampa Bay's ball. Desmond Ridder should have held on to the ball. Like, if you're near the goal line, hold on to the ball. I understand that there are some situations where it's like you're punishing a guy for reaching out for the end zone, and those kind of suck. I won't disagree. Like that moment of the rule definitely sucks, but it's not the worst rule in sports because I've seen it in situations where, Tampa bias aside, if that happened to anybody anywhere, I'd be like, hell yeah, they deserve the ball. They got careless with it, slowed up, didn't hold on to it as they were crossing the end zone, got punched out. It's a great defensive play. Give them the football. So I don't know if I would change that one. Do you have one off the top of your head? Because I got to think. I got to try and think now.
I think we're at the point where, and maybe you can't do this for the full game. Maybe it is after the 2-minute warning of both halves. Roughing the passer has to be reviewed. They can't get it right. They cannot get it right. It's an abomination. It's probably too bang of a play. If I want to find a reason to bail out the refs, I'll give them that. There's times where they might have an angle of it on the field that didn't make sense of the actual hit, where they thought it looked like a head-to-head or driving the quarterback to the ground. It has to be reviewed, and if it's slowing down the game too much, then just review it with 2 minutes left in each half, because it's just the rule is not consistent. It's not consistent. I see quarterbacks get walloped and there's nothing. I see quarterbacks get slapped on the side of the hip and they call it. Like, I don't understand the rule, and I don't think defensive linemen understand the rule. And if they're going to be that forcing of protecting quarterbacks, well, then you also need to protect the defensive linemen from penalties that can cost their team such a large portion of the game and make it reviewable.
Okay, I have one that I'm extremely passionate about, but it's not an NFL rule. It's a college rule.
That's fine.
Can I do that? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Targeting right now is an abomination. The way that this rule is strictly written and called sucks. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect not only the players on offense who are catching the football or who have the ball, whatever it is. They're also trying to protect the defensive players when they are making a tackle and they're doing it with bad form. If they're leading with the crown of their helmet, it could compromise their neck and their spine. And that's some of the worst injuries that we have seen in the sport. I completely understand that. I get it. But the fact that targeting right now is a strict criteria for both the ball carrier and the tackler, and if it is upheld in any way, no matter what the situation is, that kid's out of the game and has to miss the next half as well. If you get called for targeting in the second half, you have to miss the first half of the next game.
Right.
I was watching South Carolina, Texas A&M this past weekend, and one of South Carolina's best defenders, he went, the receiver caught the football, and you could tell he went a little bit lower because he didn't want to make contact with the head. He didn't want to go like at him as a defenseless receiver. And because of that, he was a little bit lower than he should have been. He didn't have his eyes up. He had his helmet down, and he tackled the guy right over the middle. And it wasn't like a bad hit. It wasn't an egregious hit. It was barely even a hard hit. But the fact that his eyes were down and he led with the crown of the helmet, even though it wasn't a vicious hit at all, they kicked him out for targeting. Like, it was literally just a football play that he happened to have his head too low, and they kicked him out of the game. It has to be an NBA flagrant system. You have to have targeting 1 and targeting 2. The South Carolina hit that I saw this past weekend, which was barely even I can't even call it a hit. It was a tackle. That you should get a targeting 1 foul for that. It should be 15 yards. It should be something that is detrimental to your team. So you remember, God, I can't be doing that. You don't need to make that kid miss 2 halves of football.
It's extreme.
It's way too extreme. It has the potential to ruin games. South Carolina's already had so many injuries. I know that because my fiance is a South Carolina grad, so I watch a lot of South Carolina football games. They've already had so many injuries this year. This is one of the better kids that's still healthy on their team, and you're going to kick him out just because he made a tackle that was a little bit lower than it should have been? I know the rule exists. I know why the rule exists, but I cannot stand it right now. Divide it up, make it targeting 1 and targeting 2. I have no idea how it is still 2023 and we do not have it. It's terrible to me.
I'm totally with you. And another example, I mean, we just saw it with Johnny Newton. Johnny Newton just was wrecking the game against Wisconsin. He got ejected for targeting. He'll miss the first half of the next game. And, you know, they tried to do an appeal and it was upheld. It's just... And
it's upheld because the list is so strict that if there's no context allowed. It's if you do any of these things on the list, yeah, it's targeting. Too bad. Who cares?
Right.
Doesn't matter if it was violent. Doesn't matter if it was egregious. Doesn't matter if you were actually trying to hurt somebody. Obviously, like it does. Like you would want people to get ejected if they made a malicious hit. That's the whole point of the rule. I think most of it. But yeah, that one gets me fired up.
We found it. We eventually found it.
Every single Saturday. That one gets me fired up. Hey everybody, this time of year it's all about setting up the routine checklist, right? This time of the year, it's getting back to that checklist, getting back to that routine, something that makes you feel comfortable, confident, safe. It allows you to go through your week the way that you want to. But the most important task on whatever list or routine that should be, it's securing your family's financial future. Starting with life insurance, Fabric by Gerber Life makes it quick, easy, and affordable to protect your family so you can get back to enjoying life and that routine. Fabric was designed by parents for parents to get you high quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policies in less than 10 minutes. They got flexible policies that fit your budget and quality policies like $1 million coverage for less than $1 a day. Get your personalized quote in just minutes and then apply when it's convenient for you. It's all online to your schedule. You can go from start to covered in less than 10 minutes with no health exam required. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family and apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/stock exchange. That is meetfabric.com/stock exchange. MEET, which somebody who listens to the podcast pointed out they laugh every time I have to clarify that. MEETfabric.com/stock exchange. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Okay, am I next?
You are next.
Okay. All right, second question for me.
Confidence level in Ryan Poles, 1 to 10. Oh, sweet mama. Okay.
Let's hear it. Fresh off a trade deadline where they traded a second-round pick for Montez Sweat with no extension in hand and did not deal Jalen Johnson, which means they only have one franchise tag to go between the two players and might lose one of them for absolutely nothing.
Right. And you would think they're going to lose Jalen because you cannot lose Montez Sweat. But also, I really like Montez Sweat. Let me be, like very clear about that here. I think he's very good against the run. He's a great athlete. He's obviously a good pass rusher. Mm-hmm. He's been able to play a lot since he's been in the league. The Bears needed more sure things on their defense. And I think Montez Sweat is a sure thing. He's a component they have been lacking on the defensive side of the ball, where you line up against the Bears and you're like, man, this front doesn't scare me, or maybe the secondary that week doesn't scare me. Like, we're just going to attack this. He is a steady, not calling him a steady Eddie is not even fair to him. He's better than that. So I don't hate the idea at all of acquiring Montez Sweat. Now, is that going to be the 34th pick in the draft or something like that? It's, kind of an interesting thought process, but I'm going to put this at a 4.5, Trevor, okay, honestly. And I'm almost leaning more towards a 4. It's just hard for me. The Chase Claypool trade was a complete disaster.
Tough.
A complete disaster. I don't really see great allocation of cap usage all the time with this Bears team. I love the acquisition of DJ Moore. I always felt like they were 1 foot in and 1 foot out on Fields, right? Like, it's just one of those things where it just never felt like they really thought Fields was going to be the guy after that new regime came in, but they wanted to collect assets and maybe see if he was. And now I think his value is really depreciated significantly. Like, I don't think the return for Justin Fields is going to be impressive at all when they ultimately trade him. Maybe they're bad enough that they get that Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison stack. And it's just like, it's not fail proof because nothing in the NFL is, but they would actually scare you a little bit in that regard. I feel like they've been trying to rebuild this offensive line for a million years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to kill them for passing on Jalen Carter, because Jalen, as much as he was maybe the best player in the draft or there were questions there and they were afraid to miss. They were really, really afraid to completely swing and miss. But I don't see an identity with this team. I don't see good coaching. Is Ryan Poles going to get a chance to stay if they fire the coaching staff and hire, other coaching staff again? Like, I just look at this situation and the Bears have some assets, even though they just traded a really important one. And I don't have a ton of confidence in how they're overall building this thing.
Yeah, I would say we're at a 3 or a 4. I'm losing confidence in Poles, especially for what just happened at the deadline.
You had to trade Jalen if you weren't going to extend him.
Yeah,
you had to.
I don't even love the Sweat deal either, especially given the context around it. Like, I'm trying to. I don't know if Poles knew that Atlanta was also an offer and that Sweat wanted to go to Atlanta because apparently he's got family there and that was his preference to get traded to. I don't know how much of that Poles knew or not, but trading for him and not signing him to an extension, I get that you want to see where your team is at and you could just sign him in the offseason, but if there's other places, other teams that Sweat would have rather gone to, he's just not going to sign your contract. He's going to go to the other teams. And if you franchise tag him, okay, then you franchise tag him. But if he's not happy there anyways, then you're just renting this dude for pick number 35 overall, 1 franchise tag, and then you're moving on from him. And meanwhile, I think the Bears are going to be bad. Like, I don't think this is a super quick fix, even if you get Caleb Williams or Drake May. So I don't know if Montez Sweat's going to be there for longer than 2 years. And if he's not, then you traded a second-round pick and used a franchise tag on a player who is simply a good run defender and sometimes an effective pass rusher, while the rest of your team just wasn't good. That's tough.
That's completely justified.
That's tough for me, and the Jalen Johnson stuff's tough for me too. Like,
buying when you stink and buying a potential rental That's not good process.
They think they're contenders, don't they?
There's just no way. There's no way they could look themselves in the mirror and think that. But he might be thinking, if we don't show any signs of life, like I might not get the chance to use these first rounders coming up.
That's a horrible reason to trade a second round pick for a pass rusher that you then don't have an extension on that's an upcoming free agent.
Oh, it's almost malpractice. But if I'm the Bears, like I am, and I'm picking twice in the top 5 in this draft, I'm blowing this entire thing up. I'm blowing the entire thing up. You are going to be the most attractive fucking job on the market. You are in Chicago. You have
they have a lot of cap too. They have a lot of cap.
Like, I know I don't like to do the whole like just fire everybody and start over again every 2 years. Trust me, I covered the Jets for long enough to be through too many of those. But I do think this is a more unique circumstance. This one. And now you have a GM that I just don't understand his timeline. I just never understand his timeline. And I remember I nuked the Claypool trade when we did that podcast last year. Nuked it. And it went worse than I thought. Yeah. Yeah, confidence, it's at a 4, 4.5.
Yeah,
the only reason it's a 4.5 is because he has like the most golden assets coming up that you could possibly think of.
Right. Yeah, I'm at 3 or 4. That's why I wanted to ask you the question.
It's a great question.
I'm losing a lot of faith. I'm losing a lot of faith there. So
it's a tough one.
All right.
Okay.
What's your last one?
I think you'll have a lot of fun with this one because I tried to pick some of your guys. And this is more of like a, not rapid fire, but a little bit of a more quick hitter.
All right. Wait. All right. Best trait for Joe Alt, A.D. Mitchell, and then what's the last one?
Edgerrin Cooper.
Edgerrin Cooper. Okay. All right. The best trait for all 3 of those guys. The best trait for Alt for me is the balance at 6'8". I mean, I thought he was a little top heavy last year, and I felt like he was, sometimes you get these tackles, you go like, whoa, look at him, he's a mountain, he's giant, but then like they'll kind of had this hunched over style, they can't really get deep into their stance because the legs are so long, just the body is so long, and it's tough to maintain that kind of leverage and strength when you are that tall. And I feel like I saw that a lot more last year with Alt. This year, it's different, man. I feel like he's got a lot more balance, a lot more natural strength to him. Obviously, the length, I think, is probably the top trait just because of his overall size. But you combine that with mitigating those weaknesses of a player of his size, and that's what's brought out some really, really good tape this year. So Alt's really great in that regard. He's not as quick off the line with his footwork as like Olu Fashanu is,
right.
But I think being 6'8", you cover so much ground. It's like the Patrick Paul thing too. Those guys, maybe not necessarily the quickest players on their feet, but they're so big that even if them being a little slower, they can normally get to their landmarks.
Look at DeJuan Jones.
Protection. So, yeah, I mean, that's a DeJuan Jones thing too, although Alt, I think, is even more flexible than DeJuan Jones was, certainly as a guy who, well, let's say a 4th-round pick from DeJuan Jones, but let's be honest, like the tape was a lot higher than a 4th-round pick. I just think the league maybe didn't like, we've said this before, what happened in the Senior Bowl. Maybe it's an attitude thing. I don't know, because the tape was way better than a 4th-round pick. But that's Joe Alt. A.D. Mitchell, my favorite trait about him, I've said this before, at 6'4", right around 200 pounds, the way that he runs routes is super impressive. I just do not see many players who are that tall, have that long of legs, that can really sink their hips, really deceive defensive backs with their hips and their shoulders, and be as good at route running and separation as A.D. Mitchell is. And I think that goes into why he is so good in the red zone and scoring touchdowns, just because he's got a knack for it. He's got a knack for that separation, I think, when the space gets a little bit tighter. So to me, route running for a player who is of his size is my favorite attribute of A.D. Mitchell. And then the last one is Edgerrin Cooper, who I moved up to Edge 1 in this class. And if you guys haven't heard that name before, this is Texas A&M.
Linebacker 1.
Off-ball linebacker. Yeah, what did I say?
Edge 1.
Oh, sorry. Linebacker 1. People were probably like, wait, what?
You just talked about Latu.
Right. I think that was why it was in my head. Off-ball linebacker 1, Edgerrin Cooper. And I'm kind of waiting for somebody to really stand out in this class. I think that Barrett Carter is still a good football player. Like I still think that he could be a top 50 guy when it's all said and done. But I snuck Cooper a little bit higher than him and into my recent top 50 because Cooper's playing out of his mind. He has a 91.7 overall PFF grade, which is the highest for any off-ball linebacker in the country. He doesn't have a single grade, whether it's run defense, pass rush, or coverage, that is below 84. Now, I think his grade's a little bit overinflated because the coverage grade is, I think, also right around 91. But it's not like Fred Warner, Levante David dropping back into coverage. They're not Texas A&M's not asking him to do a lot of different zone drops and these deep drops, covering and carrying a guy in a Tampa 2 or anything like that. But when it is a pass play and when he is asked to patrol a shallow zone or watch for the football in the flat or whatever, he is a heat-seeking missile once that ball gets thrown to the flat. If it's anything short, he is on it. He's got some crazy plays this year. 6'3", 200 pounds, 34-inch arms, which are crazy long arms for an off-ball linebacker. And the dude's just got sideline-to-sideline speed for days. He reminds me of Kenneth Murray when Kenneth Murray was coming out of Oklahoma, and he was a back end of the first-round pick for the Chargers. Now, I feel like Kenneth Murray was overdrafted as a back end of the first-round pick, and I don't think that Cooper at this point in time would be a first-round off-ball linebacker. But you get into that second round, you want guys with athleticism in the middle of the field, and holy cow, if you just let him be an attacking downhill guy, he could be that for you. So all of that to say, favorite trait of his, without a doubt, that closing speed ability. That explosiveness, that 0 to 60, put your foot in the ground and go get the ball carrier. He's got some of the best reps in the country when it comes to that kind of assignment.
I love it. I knew you'd have fun with that one because I know you like those guys, and I'm with you. You kind of put up my blinker for Cooper, and he's a dude that flies around. Like you see the size in the middle of the field too. It's a little bit of a lost art in today's game, and he's got it.
All right, I got my last one is also a pretty fun one, which could have a pretty good discussion. But before we get to that, got to remind you guys that this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Now, PFF has an official Prize Picks lineup for Thursday Night Football this week. That would be Tajay Spears, more than 12.5 receiving yards, just 12.5. And then Will Levis, more than 202 passing yards, 202.5 passing yards. So if both of those things hit, remember, PFF told you that both of those things were going to hit. If you want to play alongside of Prize Picks' favorite players like guys like Meek Mill, Andrew Schultz, all sorts of pop culture icons that are getting in on Prize Picks as well, you can find them in the community plays under the promos tab of the Prize Picks app to view the entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Pick community every single week. If you are new to Prize Picks, what it is you pick an entry that projects a player to have more or less than a certain amount of receiving yards, passing touchdowns, whatever it is. But you got to bundle at least 2 to 6 of these. All of them got to hit. And if they do, you can win up to 25 times your money. Prize Picks even offers reboot policies so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is just automatically rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/NFLSC. Use the promo code NFLSC for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is prizepicks.com, NFLSC. Use the promo code NFLSC for a deposit match up to $100. It's a free $100 to play with, guys. Come on. Use promo code, make it happen.
I did a 4-pick hockey NHL one.
Was it a shot? Was it a player shot?
It was a little bit of everything. So listen to this. I had Adam Fox, more than half an assist. He got it.
Nice.
I had Mika Zibanejad, more than 3 shots on goal. He had 5.
Yeah, guaranteed.
You'll like this. I had Braden Point, more than 2.5 shots on goal. He had 4. So then I go to bed. I go to bed with all 3 hitting. And my last one was West Coast game. So I'm like, I'm not staying up as much as I like watching Connor Bedard. I made Connor Bedard more than 3.5 shots on goal. I'm like, I got the 3 hardest ones out of the way. Like the Adam Fox assist was always, and he's an assist machine. I'm like, Bedard will have 7 shots. Like I wake up, he had 3. It was a flex play, so I still won money, but
Nice,
like it's a big difference. It's a really big difference. It's fun, man. Prize Picks is fun. It's quirky. I mean, the hockey on it's fun. The football is on Sundays is a blast. It's just a different experience.
Hockey shots bets. I mean, you guys are. You and I got a good friend of mine who does the hockey shots bet, and you guys are just.
It's DGen. It's a DGen level of betting.
It is, but I bet you've had a handful of parlays that hit that you just go nuts for.
I have I have two bad gambling qualities. The shot sickness where you're just cheering at every shot on goal during this time of year. And then when I'm off for a while in the summer, I make some really ridiculous home run bets in baseball that's like the worst version of betting.
Wait, hold on. Wait. What's the regular odds for a home run bet?
It depends on the player and the pitching matchup, but like say like Pete Alonso, who's one of the best power hitters in the game.
Right.
If the Mets are playing a day game and I'm off on like a Wednesday, I mean, I'll fire up a plus 300, and sometimes you get boosters and stuff.
Okay, so it's like plus 300 for the best home run hitter in the game.
Yeah, it'll go down to like plus 275, but there's also boosted bets, and it's a sickness. So yeah, we should move on.
All right. Yeah, before you get the itch. Okay, you ready for this one?
Let's do it.
This one's kind of extensive. So
boy, I'm sweating.
If I need to put this one back up, I can, because it involves a couple of extra teams. All right, ready? Here you go.
All right, rank the team from most likely to least likely to draft a quarterback if they pick 3 to 8. The Giants, the Patriots, the Packers, the Broncos, the Rams. Okay, Giants, Patriots, Packers, Broncos, Rams. So I'll avoid you having to put that back up. 3 to 8.
Okay. And the reason I have with them picking 3 to 8 is because if you get the chance to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, I think you do it. I think all of those teams, the Giants, the Packers, the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Rams, I think all 5 of those teams would take Caleb Williams or Drake May. But I want you to rank from most likely to least likely a team that would take
a quarterback.
McCarthy, Bo Nix. Like, who do you think, if they're picking 3 to 8, who do you think is just like sick of their quarterback shit enough to where they're like, all right, we gotta get a new dude in here?
It's the Rams number 1 because Stafford's body has been failing him a little bit, and Stafford's got a good attitude. Even if he came back next year, you're not rocking the boat there. Like, it's McVay. We thought he'd be going to TV, and he seems pretty committed to that team. And it's the Rams number 1, but a really close number 2, because you said they're sick of this shit, is the Broncos. I mean, Sean Payton is just jonesing to get a quarterback in there to ruin Russell Wilson's life. Like, we know that for sure. So the Rams,
competition breeds the best results.
Yeah. The Broncos. I'll go Patriots number 3. I don't really think they like Mac Jones. Now they were in a spot this year where it was Mac Jones was put in a terrible spot in year 2, and they had to do right by him and bring in a real offensive coordinator and see where it goes. And Mac has been a wild roller coaster this year. There's games where he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. There's games where he looks like a guy they should continue to develop and trust. But I still think there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a weird offseason for New England. Like, there's just a lot going on there that needs to change. So I'll go Patriots at 3. I'll go Giants at 4, but this is like a leaky 4. Did you hear the the Packers quotes from Gutekunst today?
No.
It wasn't like a real defense of Jordan Love. Okay, I'll read it right here. This is from Rob Domofsky, who covers the Packers at a very high level. He said, when asked if the Packers might need more than this season to figure out if Jordan Love is the guy, Gutekunst said, "I hope not." He called the next 10 games an important 10 games, added that when things aren't clicking, it's difficult to evaluate anything. Maybe I'm naive. I expected Gutekunst, to ended the Aaron Rodgers era for his guy, to be like, we believe in Jordan Love. We're standing by Jordan Love. And I'm sure the full press conference, there could be some of those cliches. But he gave us at least a little something to chew on. And it's been that bad in Green Bay this year. So I'll put the Giants at 4, but I don't feel good about that. I look at this and I'm like, man, the Giants have $40 million on Daniel Jones next year, and an owner that really believes in Daniel Jones. I don't think Brian Dable is all gung ho over Daniel Jones anymore, but man, I'm looking at this like it's interesting. The Giants and the Packers are an interesting 4 or 5. I think you could flip that one any way you want.
So you would say Rams most likely, then the Broncos, then the Patriots, then the Packers, and then the Giants, right? Or did you flip the Giants at 4?
I still have the Giants at 4.
Okay.
But because the thing with the Giants is like this is a quarterback class that can Joe Shane go down on the Daniel Jones ship? Like, what if the Giants have a disappointing 2024? Does Joe Shane get the chance to take his guy after that? I don't know. I wouldn't want to find out.
I think if the rest of the roster is going in the right direction, he would. Which kind of goes into so I'll tell you my order. I also think that if the Rams are picking between 3 and 8, that they're probably taking a quarterback. So I think that they are number 1. I'd put Green Bay at 2.
Wow, there it is.
I'd put Green Bay at 2 because
it looks that bad.
And I don't think that it's all Jordan Love's fault.
No.
I really don't. There's a lot going wrong with that offense. I don't think the tight ends are clicking nearly as fast as maybe they thought they would. The wide receivers are still having plenty of issues. Obviously, we've talked about David Bakhtiari not being there, kind of throwing things off. But the offense looks so bad. And people forget, Jordan Love has 1 year left on his contract next year. That's it. So it's not like you have all of this time to evaluate him. You had the 2 years where it was the Aaron Rodgers thing. He's playing now in the 3rd year of his contract, and they didn't pick up the 5th year, right? Or did they?
They did pick up Jordan Love's 5th year.
So is next year the 5th year?
The next year's the 5th year.
So next year's the 5th year. Either way, whatever. They only have 2 years to evaluate him. This is 1. And
they extended him. Sorry, Trevor. I didn't mean to cut you off. They extended him. So I bet it's essentially the same thing, right? They extended him.
I'm looking at his contract right now, and he's got this year and next year.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing as a 5th year option. They just used it as an extension.
Okay. So I think that if they are picking within quarterback range there, they're going to move on. I think they're going to move on from somebody. Very clearly, if they have the opportunity to take Caleb Williams or Drake May, I don't think it's a debate. But I would say Rams are 1, Packers are 2. I think the Patriots are 3. I think Denver is 4. And I think the Giants are at the end. I think the Giants are 5. And I understand that people might be freaking out about that because people might be like, yo, Daniel Jones is not it. And I also kind of don't think Daniel Jones is it. But like I said, they've given him this contract. He's got probably another year that you got to keep him around anyways. Use that high pick probably in the trenches again where you need it. And that's where Joe Shane's defense can be. Joe Shane can say, hey, I kind of inherited this quarterback that we gave a small deal to because we wanted to kind of see what he could be. He wasn't the player, but look at the rest of the roster. It's all getting better at a lot of different areas. The offensive line has taken a major step back this year, but if he continues to invest in it, I think that can be his defense to distance himself away from Daniel Jones when that time comes. So I would say Rams, Packers, Patriots, Broncos, and then the Giants.
All right, you ready for my fun one?
Yes.
This is where I'm not gonna lie. I sat down, I poured a cup of cold brew after I got home today from work. And,
wow, at 5 p.m., you animal.
It was before the show, so it was like 3:30.
Okay.
But yes, immediately took
you animal.
Immediately took the dog running after just to burn some of it, like to cool some of it off. And I thought about so many different scenarios for this. And I think this one, you'll have fun with this. Okay. So the fun one right here.
You have a time machine for 24 hours. It can only take you to sporting events. Hold up, pull it up a little bit. Where are you going.
So I did the math, and I figure you can go to about 8 sporting events.
Oh, within 24 hours?
Within 24 hours. Let's say each sporting event will be about 3 hours, give or take.
Oh, okay.
And it's instant. It's an instant teleportation. So you have about 7 to 8 sporting events that you get to pick from any time in world history.
All right. One is obviously a afternoon at the Colosseum for an actual gladiator event.
That counts.
In ancient Rome. So that's
that absolutely counts. I agree. I think it's great. You get to see people slaughter each other.
Barbaric thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. You probably wouldn't come back the same, but
yeah, I mean the pizza would slap, obviously.
Oh my God.
Ancient Rome pizza.
Yeah, the concession stands might be absolute cheeks at that one, but at least you saw a cool event. They're literally just like pouring red wine and handing out loaves of bread.
Yeah, but the red wine's probably like fresh as hell, you know, like no pest, like no chemicals, you know what I'm saying? Like we haven't tanked the climate at that point, so it's probably real nice.
That's a good point. Nice.
You know, just a nice cab, just a nice a cab from Tuscany and a little gladiator event, you know? It's just a casual Saturday afternoon. All right. Do you have any off the top of your head? Because, like, I got to think. This is a great question, but I got to think of, like, some of the sporting events here.
So, yes, I do. I mean, there's also, like, obviously we've grown up fans of sporting events. So there's some that I feel like I have to go to by default that probably knock out half of them. Like, I'd have to be, for me, and I'll do these quick because nobody else probably cares about these, like the 86 World Series to see the Mets. And it's also one of the greatest World Series of all time against the Red Sox. I have to go to that. I have to go when the Rangers won the Cup, obviously. And I'm talking about like the only cup they've won in the last 83 years in the Cup in 93. So those two for me, for sure. When the Jets won the Super Bowl with Namath, like those three, I have to be at those. So that gives me like 5 to have fun with. The Miracle on Ice in 1980 is a note. Like that's one I have to be at. The one I'm struggling with the most, because I only want to pick one of them, is one of the 3 fights between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. That's the one where, like, you would think the Thrill in Manila would be, that's the third one. That would be the one that would be the craziest, not only because of the location, it goes 14 rounds, but a part of me,
I don't know boxing as much. I know like the lore, but I don't like.
I would say I would actually go to Fight of the Century. That's the first one, and it's the one Frazier won in 15 rounds. So that's number 5 for me, is Fight of the Century. Obviously, I got to think about this, so this is a good way to give you more time, because this is one I really should have texted you, but I was like, I'll get mine out, and then Trevor will go through his. Yeah, this is tricky. It is still really tricky because you got to like really narrow these down.
So the 3 that immediately come to my mind that I want to see. Game 6, 1998 Chicago Bulls. Just to see the Jordan shot, right? I mean, like,
that makes a lot of sense.
I want to feel the energy in the stadium for the intro, the infamous intro,
of course, right? Alan Parsons Project,
I want to be there for that, and then I want to see them win that game on the Jordan shot. I want to see, and this is in my lifetime, but obviously like I wasn't there for it. I want to be at the game that Barry Bonds broke the home run record. That is one that immediately came to my mind. This one I was not alive for. I want to see Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game.
That's really cool. That's a really cool one.
I want to see what it was like, because for you to score 100 points in a basketball game is nuts. I mean, you have to be scoring, what is it, like every 20 seconds? Like, what was it like? Everybody says, oh, he was going up against nobodies. I don't care. I want to see it happen. I just want to see the modern marvel that was that performance. So those are the 3 that immediately came to my mind. Miracle on Ice, absolutely. Like that one is no doubter. That one is a no doubter. You've absolutely got to go to that one. This is such a great question. I cannot wait to hear
the responses
what people say they would go to. So those are my 4. Do you have any other ones?
Yeah, I do. Another one that I would go to would be when Secretariat won the Triple Crown. That for me is like, I mean, obviously Secretariat's one of the greatest horses of all time. I love horses and horse racing.
Right.
That would be a very unique thing to me to see Secretariat win the Triple Crown, especially setting and still holding the fastest times in the races. Like Secretariat's, you know, you always want to see the pinnacle of sport for this specific competition, and that's Secretariat. So that's one for me. So I'm at 6 already. Like, obviously the Rangers 93 to 94 season, like that 94 Cup, I'd want to see when they beat Vancouver in the final game. Same with the Mets against the Red Sox. Although the Buckner, going through Buckner's legs, it could also be another sporting event. Like, you're only picking a game. So when I say championships, you have to go to a specific game.
Right.
Jets, Miracle on Ice, Fight of the Century, Secretariat. It's weird that, you know what? It would be a really wild one, and I don't know if it's on my list, but it's something I think of. There's 2 college football ones, and I wouldn't pick more than 2.
Mm-hmm.
The Stanford Band with Cal.
Okay.
I mean, that's like the craziest thing ever.
Right.
And then when Vince Young beat USC.
The Rose Bowl is the one that I thought of for college football that I would want to see.
Because that, like, watching that as a kid, that was a special game. I think that's the one for college football for me.
I feel like I want to pick. You know what I would want to go see? Like the very first Olympics. When was the first Olympics? When was the first Olympics? Because I just want to see what 1896, the Summer Games. I would also like to see. What about like? Okay, this is right next to it on the other Wikipedia. The ancient Olympic Games, which were in Greece, like the legit Olympic Games, dated back to 776 BC. That's some shit that I would want to see.
Right.
Take me back to that.
You have to take advantage of this time machine and do things like, you can watch on YouTube a lot of the games that we've said. But that you can't just YouTube.
All right. Yeah. So I'm going maybe not the very first, maybe like
kind of make sure they have their stuff together.
Yeah, we got to develop it. Like maybe like the 50th ancient Greek Olympic Games. And then I want to see the first ever Summer Olympic Games. So those 2, Miracle on Ice for sure. Somebody getting sliced and diced in the Coliseum.
You want my most unhinged one? And I'm dead serious. It makes my 8. Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell.
Wow.
I have to be there.
Sick.
I have to be there.
Is that the God is my witness, he's broken in half match?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, seeing Mankind thrown off the cell through the announcer's table, it has to be in my 8. It has to be.
All right.
I bet there's a lot of people that agree.
Dude, I cannot wait to read the comments of this one. I got mine, and it's a little bit quicker of one, but it might be controversial. It might be actually very controversial. This might rip the podcast apart. I'm not sure yet. But before we get to that, it's not a bird. It's not a plane. It is the most revolutionary ball trimmer the world has ever seen. Gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you a below-the-waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Almost sold them short there. We are talking about a next-generation trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever shave your mind can imagine. AI is cool, but I think this might be the biggest technological advancement the world has ever seen. Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultra Sphere this year by going to Manscaped for 20% off and free shipping using the promo code PFF. High tech for low places with our friends over at Manscaped. Inside this package, you will find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This bad boy's got dual LED lights to provide contrast on multiple different skin tones so you could shed some light on even the darkest places. We're talking about 3 length setting combs as well that it comes with for all your desired lengths. And of course, this one's waterproof as well. If you're taking it on the go, Manscaped's got you covered. This puppy comes with a travel case and a travel lock feature to avoid any accidental powering on and offs when you're in the airport, all that stuff. So right here, it's on the cutting edge of cutting pubes. God, what a just a mint line. Upgrade your ball trimmer and your life will follow. Get 20% off and free shipping using the promo code PFF at manscaped.com. It's 20% off free shipping with the promo code PFF at manscaped.com. I can promise you, you've never seen a ball trimmer look like a spaceship. Well, now you can get your hands on it today with our folks over at Manscaped. All right, last one. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
This is topical, seasonal.
When does the Christmas tree go up and when does it come down? Phenomenal. Okay. So,
let's hear it.
When I was drinking the cold brew and sitting there, I looked at Kristen and I was like, throw some scenarios at me. And this was one of the ones she did. And I'm really glad that you brought this up because this was a close runner up until I thought of sports event time machine or gladiator time machine.
Yeah.
Which even surprised me. So I'm pretty specific. All right. Okay. So it goes down is so easy. It usually goes down for me New Year's Day. I know that's right.
All right. Okay. All right.
New Year's Day.
All right.
Now, a lot of like schedule stuff impacts this. If I have work on New Year's Day, then it might have to wait till the next day off. So it could go as far as that would be January 6th this year, but no later than that. I'm usually pretty standard New Year's Day, pack up the tree. I'm tired of looking at it. I don't feel like cleaning it up, so let's just get this done. Now, going up, this year, I can tell you when it's going to go up. The Jets play Black Friday, so I will be working the day after Thanksgiving. It's the first Black Friday NFL game. That is November 24th. I think the tree this year will go up the weekend of the 25th, which is probably really early for a lot of people. But this is the first year in a really long time that we're not getting a real tree. When I lived in Hoboken, we always got a real tree, and we got one down the street, and we had a different style apartment, and all that made sense. When you get a real tree, like you can't put it up in November. That thing will not last. The needles will fall off and die. Now, where we live now, and with a massive sheepdog, it's just easier to have a fake tree. So I mean, I couldn't imagine a real tree in this scenario right now. So with the fake tree and me having the weekend off because of the Black Friday game, and we also love Christmas and want to start as early as possible, it will be the weekend of the 25th.
All right. Okay. We're cool. We're friends. We can continue to do the podcast.
Love Christmas.
I've seen people put up a Christmas tree, and my fiance even said like a couple of days ago, she's like, I think I'm going to break out the Christmas tree. Like when we get home, like right after October, like right after Thanksgiving. And I'm fine with that. If you want to put up the tree after Halloween, I won't fight you too hard on it. My preference would be immediately after Thanksgiving. We're going hard for a month. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like a month and a week. We're going hard for it, but this is my favorite time of year, truly.
Same.
Like right when November starts, you got Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks. You got some incredible college football and NFL games. You got rivalry week in college football. You obviously have like other sports heating up, World Series. If you're a baseball guy, I'm not that big of a baseball guy. But anyways, hockey's underway. Like it's just a beautiful part of the sports calendar. You get into bowl season and then it's Christmas time. I feel like everybody's also nicer around the holidays.
Usually.
I don't work in the service industry, so I know like some people in the service industry might be like,
yeah, buddy, you want to taste the reality, right? That's
right. People are assholes around the holidays, which might be the case if you work in the service industry. And if you do, salute to you. I love you.
Right.
But I just feel like my friends and family, like everybody's happier around the holidays. I love getting to see friends and family a lot more. And I feel like I do over this 2-month stretch for the last 2 months of the year. And so this is truly my favorite time of year. So if you want to put the Christmas tree up now, it's all right. I won't fight you on it. My preference, though, same as yours. Right after Thanksgiving, we're putting that bad boy up. And yeah, we might actually get a real one, but we might actually go chop a tree down.
It's a great experience.
I've
only done it once.
I'm from Florida. For the 28 years that I lived in Florida, Never even crossed my mind. Now we would go and buy real trees, but never thought to like in 80-degree weather, let's go drop down a Christmas tree. But my fiance said that her and her family used to do it all the time, and I was like, I would love to do that. So might be putting up the fake one early, and then like first, second week of December might be going to chomp down a real one. So
I like that strategy. Yeah. You could dual Christmas tree too if you want. You don't even have to take down the fake one.
Oh, brother, I'm gonna have 4.
Right, just a museum of Christmas trees.
It's just gonna be like various shapes and sizes. Every room in this house you're gonna make sure you know that it's Christmas season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you guys nailed it. Like, it's the thing I found is because we used to always wait till at least like the first week of December. It's too short of a time. I don't want 3 weeks of Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I want the 5 weeks. Give me the 5 weeks.
5 weeks minimum.
I got movies to watch. I got gifts to wrap. I got snacks to eat. Like this, I need 5 weeks.
I would ask you your favorite holiday movie, but that is for another episode.
We can go
Y'all,
on and
let
on
us
about
know
that.
what you thought of our answers, of our questions, of our episode here. We got so many comments the last time that we did a no notes episode, and that is what we love the most. I'd love to hear your takes on certainly the football question that we had, but also the fun ones. I can't wait to hear which sporting events you guys would want to go to, your rules on when you put up the Christmas tree, all that wonderful stuff. Please hit us up in the comment section. We love reading them on YouTube, youtube.com/@NFL Stock Exchange. If you are audio only, you could certainly tweet at us and hit us up on Instagram as well, at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers. And we also I've been bad at promoting the actual show account at PFF_NFLSE on Twitter. That's been growing pretty steadily. So if you guys want to kind of join the community that way, that's a way to get us to see your tweets and all your responses there as well. Connor, got anything else before we get out of here?
No more notes for me. Fun show. Too much fun. I mean, I could do the 6-hour show of no notes. It's we have a good time. Hopefully everybody else enjoys it as much as we do. And reminder, please always comment your takes. It could have been on one of the football ones. It could have been, I do want to know when all of you put up your Christmas tree. I want to see the most insane take on that. What sporting events you want to go to. If you have the Gladiator time machine, please get involved. Get involved. You sickos.
Appreciate you guys listening and following along with the podcast. We will be back with you on Monday, as per usual. Don't know at this point in time what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be something great. We promise. Not sure what it is, but we promise that it's going to be something great, probably draft related, since this is a draft podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange. We will see you on Monday.